you very much. Well, while it is said, I will start. I'm very glad to be here. I'm taking the conversation because I think all day long we've been talking about blockchain for good. And one of the things that Robert said is that we are talking about problems. Yes, because we are looking for solutions, so we need to talk about the problems. And I think we need to talk about how we solve problems in a better way as they've been trying to be solved until now, because we still have those problems. I'm Gabriela Chang, co-founder of EthicHub. My background is mixed. I'm an industrial designer, an artist and writer, and I used to work for the Secretary of Economic Development in Mexico, Chiapas, and I was also an organic coffee producer. And I think that this mixed background gives me this ability to have some multi-focus on the problems, so to have also a multi-focus solution. And I think what we need in these times is this collaboration, because everything has multiple phases that need to be addressed in different ways. Thank you very much. So, I sincerely think that one of the biggest problems we have in this planet is this connection. We're talking about global north, global south, as if we were in two different planets. It's all interconnected. Some are consumers, some are producers, but everything is connected. So today, I want to talk with you. This keynote is more about collaboration, inspiration, and how we can do together find better solutions for everything. And talking about this connection, let's think, I've been talking with people that is working in the financial system, and they said, Gabriela, this may not be perfect, but it's something that we built along a lot of time, and it works. And I said, this may work for you, but ask a Venezuelan, ask an Ukrainian if it's working. It is not. When 1 out of every 4 human beings is excluded, this is definitely not working. And it's creating a lot of pressure, not only in the society, but also in the ecosystems. We're talking about massive migrations, massive deforestation, poverty. So these 1.2 billion excluded are part of humanity also, and we have to look for solutions that integrate them into our global system for truly be called global. So agriculture is key for climate change. We are all concerned about climate change and weather in these times, and agriculture is the basic. And terribly, most of the excluded are smallholder farmers. As I was saying in the morning, a lot of people think poverty is related to uneducated folks, people that is not as prepared as us to have a decent paid job. No, most of the so-called unbanked are skilled smallholder farmers that are excluded because the system as a whole is not designed for the small scale. And I'm not talking just about agriculture. Think about carbon markets, where Verra's minimum unit is 10,000 hectares. If the people that produces 1/3 of the world's food in average has 2 hectares of land, evidently they are excluded by design. So let's reflect on this. And the World Bank has a name for this. This is the poverty cycle, or the poverty trap. Imagine what it is like to have 1 crop a year. You need to borrow because you need to eat until you have the next crop. But if nobody lends you money, if the only one you can borrow is someone that is not a bank, so he doesn't have that much money, so scarcity makes the money expensive because maybe your neighbor pays more interest, so you get out because there is not enough money for all the farmers in the area. So money is scarce and it is expensive. So by the end of the harvest, when you pay back the loan that has interest above 100%, and you paid with your crop, you end up with enough money to survive 2-3 months, and then you have to borrow again. So this is a terrible loop. They are trapped. We are all trapped without thinking. We will talk about that a bit later. So the unbanked, the excluded, the disconnected tends to be the same people. They're talking about the people that is excluded from the energy grid. Guess what? It's the same people that the farmers. They live up in the mountains, so there is no way to bring electricity in a sustainable way unless you have governments that are investing in infrastructure, because like in Mexico, electricity is not a private company. So they're fortunately, but in the rest of the world, they are separated. So I love this title, Nothing About Us Without Us. We cannot pretend to impose colonialistic solutions to problems we don't know nothing about. You don't know what it is not to have access to finance. You can go to an ATM and solve it. You can ask a friend for money to make a visum to you. So this is a reality that is very far away from us, and we need to bring them to the table. When people complain about the ways of extractive agriculture, they're talking about the people that is able to come and sit in a round tables in Europe and discuss. But we are not talking about the people that you won't entitle them a passport to come and visit you. So how can we listen to them if they are the unheard, the silent? So I think one of the mechanisms to connect everything is the supply chains. We have evolved in technology. We are talking blockchain, AI, but let's think about this. Supply chains are pre-internet, extractive, super intermediated, and those are the ones extracting the value from the producers. Farmers are the weakest link in an extractive supply chain because the current dynamic is that you buy the cheapest, so you sell the most expensive you can. So you press on the next link and the next and the next. And the only one who cannot press the next one is the farmer. Well, he does, nature. So they take without giving the corresponding part. And we don't consider in the pricing externalities. When you buy some sandals that they are just worth $1, you think it's a good bought because it's cheap. It's not. You're not paying how it was produced. And then your taxes will be used to mend for all the disasters that we created when buying cheap stuff. We have to consider the price, the social consequences. Because when we talk about capital, we only think about monetary capital, but we also have social capital and environmental capital. And in that regard, we are in debt because we have been taking from nature without turning back what it was their capital, their initial capital. So this has not been an easy road. We are OGs. We started in 2017. In 2019, we start traveling around Asia. And we've been bootstrapping all this time because crypto and impact, before these nice guys here, was almost an oxymoron. Because, as I said, the crypto bros didn't think solving problems is a huge business if we do it with the proper technology. So, on the other side, institutions, and I'm very glad to listen to the people of institutions that were here, but until now, traditional institutions were very conservative, and they were skeptical of crypto. Let's not talk about the tokens. So it's been a long way, and it all adds up. That's why I consider it so important to join together. The industry we are kind of focused on, you could say it's lending. But what about if lending could be a regenerative tool? What about if the investing would be into regenerate system, societies, business, instead of just extracting? What about if Web 2 migrated to Web 3 to be most efficient, but also focused on impact? There is another way of doing business, and it's profitable. It's not charity. It's just using the proper technology to make it possible. And we can. So the approach for problems should be holistic. We cannot just put money, but they have to sell that crop in order to pay you that money. A lot of the programs from governments go into giving them free trees, fertilizers, but they don't have markets. So when we think in solutions, it's very important to think on integrated solutions. Doesn't matter if you work in agriculture as we are doing right now, or in other things. So the solution we focus on, this crowd collateral, already exists in Web 2. It's called blended finance. Institutions are very familiar with this. It's setting some capital to absorb first losses in order to attract investment, because the investors know a third party is going to absorb the loss in case of doing. What we did is implement it on smart contracts. So it's a liquidity that automatically set in case of default. We were invited to SOCAP, the Social Capital Conference in San Francisco, to talk about this. And it was very nice to talk about smart contracts in that environment. So as I was saying, blockchain has the power to design the incentives to benefit all the stakeholders, so everyone does what is best for the ecosystem because it is what is best for themselves. So this is what I was explaining about the blended finance. The lending is done through smart contracts. The communities, the cooperatives pay back using the same smart contracts, and only in case of default, the crowd collateral kicks in. This could be applied to other systems. Imagine governments putting the guarantee, so more people could finance farmers, small companies, whatever. So by leveraging on blockchain, we were able to design the incentives because a very secure system attracts investors. If we have more investors, then we can invest in more farmers, in more projects. And because they are well financed, it increases the volume, so it makes more secure the platform, and it's round and round in a positive way. I said we've been bootstrapping, but what we do is so beautiful, so good, so attractive, and it will be profitable that we get people to support us even if we didn't pay them. We have mentors and a lot of interest into what we are building with our tokenomics. And some other protocols have used it to implement different solutions, like insurance, for example. I'm almost done. So, legitimacy, as Vitalik said, is the scarcest asset in Web3. We have lots of legitimacy. And it has been very difficult to get it, as I said, because the institutions were reluctant to this. But after a long way, we got it. We count with the support of the Inter-American Bank for Development, with Heifer International, which is one of the biggest NGOs in the world working to alleviate poverty through agriculture. And we don't say we do impact. In blockchain, you say, don't trust, verify. You can check on the blockchain that our outstanding debt, it's 1.5 million, all the numbers, you can check them. But regarding impact, we are very proud to say that 60 Decibels, it's a consultancy firm paid by Heifer International who conduct an impact analysis into EthicHub works, and they validated that we are reaching untapped markets. All the people interviewed, all the farmers said without EthicHub and Heifer, they didn't have another financial option. So this is real impact, proven impact. So for closing, I will say, this is just for coffee, just in Mexico, 500,000 producers. Imagine the business and the impact is what is to do it in other crops, in other segments around the world. It's a huge business opportunity to shift the mindset and think new ways of doing business in a profitable and regenerative way. Thank you very much. I invite you to join and build with us, support us, invest, investigate, and whatever. Thank you.